This is the PlayStation 5 3 years later. We did this with the Xbox Series consoles, and I thought, hey, why not dive in and talk about the PlayStation 5 after 3 years? Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. And since we've done no real official chat or discussion or anything like that over the PS5 hardware, all I really have with me showcasing the PS5 is doing this tutorial guide on how to add internal storage through the NVMe to the PlayStation 5 console. So let's dive in, let's talk about the state of the PlayStation 5 at the current point in time. We'll talk from a hardware perspective, a software perspective, and then we'll dive in and take a look at the games that have accumulated over the course of the PlayStation 5 generation. So first up, the console has been winning the generation for sure. I think it's pretty much a lock-in at this point that it'll have the most console sales. Bravo, Sony, for being able to deliver on that. And yeah, the console itself has been delivering very performant games, good-looking games, games that run well. The first party I do think is a bit light because it was basically Spider-Man 2 this year, which was great, and we'll talk about that a bit more. There was also the magical Forspoken. No, but Final Fantasy 16 as well was very, very good. So, they did have a couple of hits, some other surprises from like third-party stuff too, and yeah, I would say PlayStation 5 is in a pretty good space from a hardware and services perspective. So let's talk about the hardware itself. I still find the console to be a little aesthetically displeasing because it's very, very large. Like, it's huge, it takes up a ton of space. I have a hard time placing it on my absolutely massive TV stand, and the white look I don't necessarily love. I know you can get plates for it, but those are a little pricey, and I know there's a slim model and stuff, but I don't really think I need to upgrade for what is basically like a negligible amount of difference between the sizes of the PS5. But it's, still a great console. They fixed the coil wind a number of years ago now at this point, which is great. I've basically had the PS5 for 3 years, just probably slightly under because I got it a couple months into the year in the middle of a snowstorm and paid over the asking price for it because it was so hard to get. But yeah, it's been a nice console. It's done well for discs, digital. It's all played very well. It all looks really good, performance-wise, great. Like I mentioned, yeah, it's kind of been a very nice running thing. Visually, I kind of wish, I keep looking at it because it's staring me down with bright lights. I do wish that, yeah, maybe it was a bit smaller or a bit more like aesthetically pleasing. Just the futuristic concept they call it really, yeah, it didn't quite hit the mark for me there. I mean, you look at it there, I'm putting in the storage. Speaking of storage, the storage solution for the PS5 is great. Now, it is a bit of a pain to actually open it up and stuff, and I think a little complex for some more beginner type users. But yeah, the cheap storage, the large quantity up to like 8 terabytes now, I believe it is for the NVMe at this current point in time, was the clear, excellent option for storage. They nailed that element of it. And the controller, so I've got like a custom Hex Gaming controller here, but the DualSense is really great. It feels fantastic. The haptics are incredible. I love the feeling of the controller. I don't love the microphone that's built into it. I don't love the way the triggers are done, the advanced, feedback. I don't love that. I don't love that it makes sounds, but sometimes those are a little immersive for what you're doing. But yeah, it's very quiet. It's a very nice controller. I think the DualSense has been really quite excellent. I've been very, very happy with it. Feels pretty upgraded. And then, of course, again, my Hex Gaming PS5 controller here is like a little bit nicer on top of that because I've got like Chrome and everything going on with it. But in general, the DualSense controller, I think, has been a very nice offering and a very good addition to the overall console. I haven't been able to check out really peripherals outside of that, so I'm not totally well versed with all the headsets and everything, so I can't really speak to that aspect of it. I would say from a console perspective, though, hardware-wise, very well done, performs great. Services, a bit of a price jump up. I think PS Plus still has a bit of work to do, but they do have a good rotating selection of content, and the tiers can be a little confusing for value and stuff, but if you want some legacy stuff, you gotta get the higher tiers. So PS Plus, a little little mixed thoughts on that one, but there has been some interesting titles to it. So I'd say the PlayStation 5 console I would like to spend more time with in the next year to come. But so far, whenever I've had to use it, it's been pleasurable. I would say mostly it's just been the battery with the PlayStation 5 DualSense that's been a bit of an issue. Like I said, they fixed the coil whine quite a while back, so that's not a thing anymore. Just kind of quiet, and the only issue would be, like, I guess the scale of it's a little large, but it all runs fine, everything like that, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I guess at that point we should jump in and talk about the games, and then of course we'll do a wrap up at the ending point of it as well as we talk about the full scope of the PS5. So this is my library of games. I'm up to 379 titles in my collection. I don't know how much of these count as actually being part of my collection though, because I don't have PS Plus at the current point in time. Usually PlayStation bumps me up a little bit, but they haven't in a little while. So hopefully that happens. So let's take a look at what was kind of new in showcasing the PS5 this year. So we did get some Cyberpunk updates. Those videos did very, very well for me, but I don't really necessarily consider that part of this year outside of maybe the Phantom Liberty expansion. Ark was, a UE5 title, which I have, thought that the PS5 is struggling with Unreal Engine 5 titles, performance visually, and, the visuals and visually and whatnot. It is kind of struggling with that. FSR is kind of like a little iffy, so I'm hoping that there's some sort of supplementary or new technology coming in there to kind of replace that down the road, or be an option of, like, to the side of that, if that makes sense. So I hope that's kind of conveyed correctly. But yeah, this game did look good, but, well, outside of the resolution scaling stuff, but the performance really wasn't great because it was like 30 or 40 FPS. It was a little bit rough. Forspoken got better. There was worse games that came out, but Forspoken did get a little better. The Foglands I haven't played. Spider-Man 2, I think, was the clear standout this year for PS5. It was a nice, safe, good sequel to Marvel Spider-Man. It was interesting. The whole Venom stuff was kind of cool. And just some of the technology with switching between characters was really fascinating. We did Honkai Star Rail, which was interesting. We finally got Roblox on PlayStation, but that was like a PS4 kind of carried forward version. But yeah, Roblox, it was nice to have that available on the PS5. It did look way better than what I'm used to with it on the Xbox side of things. So yeah, Roblox was great to have. Another Call of Duty, Paragon Beta, which I didn't have time for. Fort Solis was kind of cool. It was a nice little sort of showcase of the technology again of the new engine. I thought that one was kind of neat, a little short but interesting. What else do we got here? Pursuit Force. So some of these I don't even know if they really count. I don't know if they're technically impressive, but they're more like, it was cool seeing a further expansion of like PSP, PS1, and PS2 games on the PS5, but I do think they should be adding a lot more. They certainly have a wealthy category and catalog of games, and they don't seem to really leverage that. Tower of Fantasy, kind of another one, like, kind of alongside Honkai Star Rail. Kind of cool to see these games available on PlayStation 5. They're very, very popular titles. I think it was this year we got High on Life, which was pretty fun. That one, pretty performant. We got things like Twisted Metals. I think that was this year. Final Fantasy 16, I think, was a great visual showcase, a great game, a very good offering for the PlayStation platform. Obviously, the historic element of Final Fantasy as well, and the PlayStation kind of leans way for this being a very good title for the platform. The way that this stuff is all set up is very, very weird for displaying game releases, quite honestly. It's a bit odd. So that way through kind of is the cutoff, because we're going to have to go and take a look at this from the PlayStation 5 perspective of PS Plus. I know I'm a bit all over the place, but kind of stand by with me on this one. So this one we'll have to look at more of like the recent type games, so recently added. Oh, they got Grand Theft Auto, nice. That's a good one too. I guess maybe can we do like historical stuff? PS3 release date, I don't know if that counts. 'Cause I'm wondering other games I kind of showcased that were available just through this. I guess this doesn't really help too much because this is a bit of a mix too. But we'll just kind of go through it a bit for some of the legacy titles. Some Medieval was kind of cool, but it's sort of like Pursuit Force was nice to have. But these games, they're not anything too mind-blowing, the historical ones. They're nice to have, like the Twisted Metals, and, they're great additions, but they're not, like, really showcasing things. Kills and Liberation. I'd love to see them make some strides and advancements and get, like, PS3 stuff on here, not just streamed. But yeah, it was nice to have like Pursuit Force and stuff become available. The Siphon Filter, I think we got the complete version, like finally got towards the end of that series for old titles being added. Unless they got some more surprises sitting somewhere. The Siphon Filters. And I think we're kind of getting to the beginning of the year for stuff. Harvest Moon did really well for me. Back to Nature did very well for videos. But yeah, most of the stuff's kind of like older titles added, Star Wars Demolition, so it's kind of hard to be like big PlayStation titles. So I mostly use this for exclusives, right? That's the big thing, is my PlayStation console is mostly so I can play exclusives and some third-party stuff that I get to check out on both. So hopefully we'll be able to expand and push that forward. Humanity I wanted to play and I never got around to that one. Oh, Putt Putt, was that this year too? Yeah, Putt Putt was a mind-blowing treasure, but kind of looking forward to next year's offering of titles a bit more in order to dive into things a little bit further on the PlayStation side of stuff, or more games, more presentations. You kind of get what I mean. So let's shift over and let's talk about the PS5 overall. So I would say that the PlayStation 5 has been a very strong console. It's been delivering to a degree in regards to hardware and stuff. I do think there's a large desire for more big exclusive titles to launch on the platform. I mean, we've had some good ones, this year, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man, but it almost feels like a little bit of playing it safe, and I'm still waiting for those killer first-party or even third-party deals, because PlayStation leans on those a lot, kind of games to really take this generation to that next level. Because I do still sit there and I kind of go like, there's been a lot of director's cuts, remasters, and remakes and whatnot, but like, we need those big kind of titles that were present for the PS4 generation. We need to see those finally start to come out for the PlayStation 5, because I feel like this console, while it is selling well, doing well, and it's got some great games, it's got some great titles, it's got some nice third-party stuff, and everything runs and looks great on it. But we need some more large titles that are like, this defines this generation of gaming for the PS5. And I feel like I'm still kind of waiting for those to come. But I would say, ooh, Unshabara, interesting. Yeah, it's been a good console for what I've used it for. It's been presenting very well, and I hope that I can largely just spend more time playing it. I don't really have any complaints outside of, again, the size and the aesthetic of the console, the controller battery life. But the controller feels really great, it looks nice, everything runs well, and that's, it's a big thing, is you want stuff to run well and look good on your console, and I think the PS5 is very performant for that in the current generation of gaming, and I'm mostly just waiting for those big titles that kind of showcase just what this thing can do, and I hope they are coming sooner than later. We're still waiting for a lot of announcements. And on the legacy front, I do wish they would take further strides for, like, the PS5 or PSP to PS5, PS1, PS2, and then I would love if they could come up with some kind of solution for PS3 that's not just streaming, because I find the streaming a bit of a lame sort of solution. I mean, it works, but it doesn't work that well. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on the PlayStation 5 at this current point in time. Hopefully, maybe we'll swing back to this next year and I'll have more thoughts, a deeper kind of understanding of it, and hopefully some larger, crazier titles that I got to experience on it over the course of the year. But for now, that's really interesting. I can't wait to see how they handle the whole Activision Blizzard to Xbox change, the changing ecosystems, growing the PS Plus offerings, and balancing legacy stuff with new stuff, and delivering on what fans can expect and want from PlayStation. So it should be a very interesting next year to come, and it's been a very interesting few years with the platform. And I can't wait to see what the end result is of this whole generation of gaming, which I think has felt a bit weird. You know, the PS Portal, the backbone was kind of cool of a concept, but like the PS Portal, I find strange, what some people really seem to like, and just a lot of bizarre stuff, really. So again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well, and yeah, it's PlayStation 5 after 3 years.